This is me.
This is me.
I love it here. This is me. This is me. This is me. When I'm here, I'm fulfilled.
This is part of me.
I love to sing. I like here.
This is me.
This is me.
These hobbies, these passions, they don't completely define us.
These activities make up only a part of who we are.
But our Catholic faith is also part of us.
It's something that isn't always perfect, it isn't always easy, but it's central to how we live out our lives.
These passionate struggles are what we call our beautiful tensions.
So then I saw you and it was different, and I was lost in your smile.
Like my personality is just I'm very calm. I don't like let things freak me out. I'm just very peaceful in my mentality of how I go about my day-to-day life. And I really can't attribute that to anything but this conviction that everything is in God's plans and according to His plan.
I think just the change from how I grew up. I just grew up in a very small, homogenous, conservative town, and there's nothing wrong with that, but this is a completely different environment, and so getting to see both sides of it, just both sides of the world, I think has been huge, and it's really shaped me as a person, and it's helped me develop who I am and less what's been forced upon me by whether it be my parents or whether it be the university. I think I have like this healthy kind of in-between, having been raised in complete opposite environments, basically.
I don't know, I just think that everyone experiences like the presence of God in such different ways. Like I know for me, I really experience God through the people in my life and through the people that I meet and just interacting and learning about other people.
Is because I am introverted and I like to live my faith out through people, but it can get tiring for me. So like adoration is a time to recharge and to just sit in silence and to feel God's energy again and know that like I can go out and spread that. I just like feel like this is like God speaking to you. Like this is a really good prayer moment. Like, and I call it Holy Spirit goosebumps because I just like feel like the Holy Spirit's right there.
I'd heard of people, having these great prayer experiences, and I never really had that. So I thought, maybe I'm doing it wrong. But then now I've realized that there's no really wrong way to do it. You just pray the way you pray, and that's how God wants it to be. He doesn't want it to be this prescripted thing that someone has written like ancient years ago. I mean, those prayers are good, and I definitely think they still have meaning, but for me, it's just a lot more about personally talking to God and reflecting with Him.
And I've noticed that since my alternative spring break, especially, like I take time, even just walking to class, to think about what's going on and talk to God about things instead of just saying your typical Hail Marys and Our Fathers. Like it doesn't have to be like structured prayer life. It can just be throughout the day.
I think where I used to get caught up a lot is that being a Christian was something for Sundays, but in reality it's something for every minute of every day. And that respect for human dignity and respect for the potential that everybody has to achieve greatness is the way I show other people what my faith means to me.
I haven't missed out on anything in my college experience, really. Like, I mean, I still go to Rick's, and I like going to Rick's, and I like getting dressed up and going out with all my friends, but I can still do that and live within my Catholic values.
While I recognize, like, God, that my religion is this beautiful gift, I also know that other people have that in other faiths.
Great. If I'm with people that aren't Catholic, I get to share the parts that excite me about my Catholic faith, but also have the possibility of hearing about different faith traditions and seeing what I can borrow from those or what's hitting me about that. And I felt like, okay, awesome, this is a way to deepen my faith and also add a degree of richness to it, because there's all these different cultures and all these different places that you can take things from to grow in that.
I honestly, I don't really face any supreme challenges as being a Catholic here, but I think the biggest one is being able to keep up with your faith and to be sure that it's always number one in your life and making that a number one priority. I think all of us as Michigan students face a lot of different pressures to succeed and to be sure that you're doing enough activities and clubs and doing all these things, and I just think all the different things that can pull you away from keeping God and your faith at the center of things, that's the hardest part.
I think that Catholicism can have a negative connotation with it. I think a lot of people who aren't Catholic are intimidated by it, and even people that are Catholic are kind of intimidated by what Catholicism entails. I think there are some things in the Catholic Church that even I have trouble understanding or agreeing with, so I don't feel defined by it.
A lot of people think that Catholic college students are super conservative or super religious, and I don't think I'm any of those things. I think it's challenging explaining myself to people that don't know me upfront as Catholic because they automatically assume things about Catholicism or the way I'm supposed to act.
I'm constantly labeled as thinking the opposite, which is really hard over and over when, like, you study things or you know, are really invested in certain issues, and then certain people just write you off as not thinking this way or be surprised, and that's hard. That's been like this interesting tension that I didn't really expect when I was coming here, expect to have with my faith.
I was not used to, and I would argue still am not used to, being labeled as Catholic all the time. I live here and I work here, so at the end of a night, I always have to go back to church. That's something that plays back in here sometimes, like, okay, how am I being intentional about my faith? Am I being intentional about my faith? And why does this seem so different and challenging to me? So that's been a struggle.
I think the biggest thing I've noticed is that people assume you take a certain political party or a certain stance on specific, political issues when you're Catholic. And up until college, I thought that was how it was supposed to be as well. Saint Mary's did a thing where we had different representatives from each political party come up and talk about different issues and like how each party addresses each issue, and like from a Catholic perspective, and that was so eye-opening to me because I had no idea that you could even be like a Democrat and be a Catholic. Like growing up, I literally thought that was like sinful. Like I just didn't know when I came.
So trying to explain to people that I work at a church is an interesting process. I kind of explain like what like the pre-minister role is. It took me a long time to be comfortable with that title, and it's still something that it's kind of like I don't necessarily feel I don't know if qualified is the right word or if I don't feel worthy to have, but it's not the career path I'm going, because sometimes when I said like, oh, I'm a peer minister at Saint Mary's, they're like, oh, you're going into theology, that's great. I'm like, not at all. I'm hoping to go to med school, so we'll see how that goes.
It's difficult sometimes, I feel like, to be a person of faith, just because educated people tend to have more scientific leaning beliefs and stuff. I struggle with the process a lot, And a lot of people are constantly saying, oh, you know, just pray about it. And prayer life is one of the worst aspects of my faith life. It's very difficult for me. It seems awkward. So I get discouraged when people say pray about it, but I try to.
For me, that manifests itself in a lot of different ways, one of which is having the self-respect to step away from the drinking scene and step away from the drugs and the loose sex and everything else that kind of is stereotypical college. At times it's very challenging, I don't deny that, especially for other people to hear. And I kind of had a wide variety of reactions. The one was this thought of, he seems like a cool person, but he has this view I don't agree with. How do I reconcile those two? Can I still talk to him? Am I going to feel judged in his presence? Which is a common thing. On the other end, I got people who said, you know what, I felt like that in high school. I wasn't able to keep it up in college because I felt so pressured. And sometimes it just makes them ask questions, and in reality, that's equally good.
My age, like, I grew up having everything convenient. Boom, you put it in the microwave, 45 seconds later you have your food. I send my text message, it's there, like, instantly. And so, for me to have to wait to figure out, okay, God, am I ever going to get married? Is all this waiting going to be worth it? Is there going to be an awesome husband around for me? Or am I going to enter religious life? Like, all this patience now for something that's going to bloom later, that's kind of difficult. But I think that's where faith comes in.
I think if you're not struggling, you're not growing. And if you're comfortable and you're kind of complacent, that's where you get stagnant. And for me, stagnation is one of my biggest fears. And getting to a point where I'm not growing, and getting to a point where I'm just comfortable and just existing, then I'm not making the most of every day. And that's something I don't want to do. So in that, like, my faith propels me that I'm going to keep trying. I'm not going to succeed every time. But in that, it's knowing that I can go back, have the support network, and realize that as long as I'm trying to be the best that I can be and trying to make the most of my day, then that's what I'm supposed to do.
Just the ability to be forgiven and to always know I have a second chance, a chance to start over. No matter how bad I might mess up or how bad a situation might be, I know that God is always in that. And so
having faith makes college so much easier, because if I do poorly on an exam or something, like, I know that it's not the end of the world. God's going to give me strength. God's going to help me to realize something. It might not be like all the answers to the next test, but it might be what I need to do better, or, like, I don't know. It just gives me perspective, I think.
In of itself, just to know that, like, it's not just a coincidence, it's not that you can just go for a run and everything's going to be fine. Knowing that God's working in you to take that stress away, to calm you down and to tell you that everything will be okay, that's how you can keep things at the center.
I do have strength within me, but the only way I really am able to show that strength is if I live. And that life for me, and not being afraid to fully live and fully embrace every moment, that's how I show strength. And so it's a daily reminder, and it's something that I can visibly see at all times, that even when my faith may kind of falter a little bit, or when I may be very stressed out and kind of losing the big picture of why I'm at Michigan, why I'm working so hard for my degree, I can look down at my wrist and see that there's a lot more to life than the academics, and that those academics are just tools to serve other people later in my life.
You know, people always think of that quote, like, life's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Well, like, honestly, like, life's totally about the destination, because if you don't have a destination in mind, you're not living with purpose. And if you're not living with purpose, you're living a life that's passive, and you're living a life of apathy.
And I think that because the campus is liberal, like, a lot of things don't align with the Catholic viewpoints, but at the same time, there's an openness here to the different perspectives that everybody brings.
I don't know, I think it's just really good to be okay with this ambiguity. Like I'm saying, like, I even have a lot of, like, things that I'm not sure about, and I think we need to be okay with being in a gray zone and not just thinking that things are black and white, but being uncomfortable with this ambiguity, having conversations about it, and hopefully, like, inspiring change from that. So
it's a blessing to be Catholic especially in Michigan, especially at Saint Mary's, because there's just a community here, and like there's a home here, and I found my best friends here. I found like, I joke that I come into St. Mary's when I had a bad day and go to all of my different counselors. Like I go to Kelly, I go to Abby, I go to everyone. But I know that like I can come here on a bad day and there are like 5 awesome people willing to like sit down and talk to me about it.
But what we talk about with discernment a lot is that God has 3 answers to our prayer. Yes, not right now, or I have something better for you. And so we're here to figure out what that better thing is.
I'm glad you spoke, but you're a little bit too late. You left behind the love you started to create. And I was waiting, but I made up my mind.
How'd you get here?
That's a really broad question.
Okay. Tell me your Saint Mary story. We can go from there.
Well, how I got to this chair right here is
I go to Rick's, and yeah, it's this totally different sexual hookup college culture, and I'm just here like, hey, I'm here to dance, like just like to have fun. And I mean,
I'm a pure minister. Oh yeah, okay, cool. And you know, where do you live? You live near North Campus? What? No, I live at Saint Mary's. No, I'm not a priest. That's the other thing. So first I saw it and I saw University of Michigan. I'm like, oh heck no. I'm a proud Ohio native. Go guys.
shoot!
You did. Blooper roll. Did I make it?
You made it. I do kind of gauge who I'm talking to a little bit, and you give them small hints, and then you eventually like build up, and if they're still interested, you keep kind of divulging more information.
About what? You didn't say what it was.
Fixed it.
Another thing.
It's not paper, it's just like footage, so it's not all going to be used, but we just need to roll it constantly, so. This is on the blooper reel, yep. So, still going.